Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name's Brogan, and today we're back for another trading stream. Now, let me turn my microphone down actually, it's peaking a bit. There we go. So today, I'm quite excited to go for the stream, because, we've been speaking, the past two streams, in quite a great detail. Well, the past three streams now, actually. A few streams, obviously we did one on Wednesday as well, but the past few streams, obviously we're going for Bitcoin and whatnot, and Syrup, I will be going over Syrup, probably just before we go over Bitcoin, because it's not really a main coin we look at. Obviously it's mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I think for the most part whatever I've said from my streams has been pretty good. What I will say though is Ethereum is its own beast right now. I'm not gonna lie, Ethereum's its beast. I can try and temper what we could maybe get to, but it's been going crazy. Ethereum's been going crazy, but Solana and Bitcoin, they've been pretty spot on with what we've been thinking so far, what I've been thinking, saying on stream obviously so far, which has been good. Syrup obviously has gone well with what we talked about on the stream on Wednesday, which is a few days ago, but we will look at that as well. And that's pretty much it. Let me start a timer before I forget, because I always forget to start a timer, and I'm always spending 15 years, talking about Bitcoin and whatnot. So anyway, back on the chart. We're back on the coin markup anyway. 1179. So we have obviously come down a bit. You can't see it on the right hand side because it's cut off, I believe. Yeah, it is. So we have even Hidden Genesis, hello to you. We have obviously come down a tiny bit. We were, I think, 109 something, peaking on 120k when we did last stream. What I basically said last stream was, obviously we retraced higher. I didn't think we were finished. I thought we could go a bit higher to, basically it was like 128 or 120k 800 to about 121,000. Kind of that range we had. My main line was the midpoint, which is like kind of roughly what you want to focus on, which was basically, I think it was like 128. So we hit that. I think we were like $200 above it, basically hit it exactly, which was really nice. And then obviously we've retraced pretty deeply, which is what I have expected for Bitcoin. Solana's case, we hit. Obviously we'll go through the charts. I'm just kind of giving a rundown of what we talked about last stream. For Solana's case, I think the main one, it was 182 above. So basically, my main thing to focus on was getting to above the 50% mark, which is basically 182, pretty much exactly. And I think we got 184 or something like that. We got really, really close. Basically, we basically hit the midpoint. So Solana, Bitcoin, really good. Ethereum's case, I was slightly negative on the lower time frame. Obviously, again, it was a 15-minute. It was a shorter thing to look at, but we carried on going. I thought we were hitting the max mark. Obviously, the first thing I talked about was the first gap we had, which obviously we came to. We filled the entire thing. We came down a tiny bit, but then we just kept on going. I was like, okay, fine. And then we came into the main area. It was like the I can't remember what the exact value was, but we've come even higher. We've really extended up for Ethereum. And again, if you look at it across the board, Bitcoin's case, again, we have had decent retracement, 0.32% 7-day. Solana at 10%, and that's good. Again, Solana's been a nice gradual move, and I said this last stream, I think maybe stream before as well, or either or, where in the case of Solana, it's definitely moving. And we've had this before, as I said on stream. I have seen many times where Solana's moving differently from Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not saying they have to move hand in hand or whatever, but Solana's definitely moves at its own pace, which obviously we have seen so far. Again, 10% kind of reflects that. It's been a very nice gradual move. Ethereum's case, again, has been a wild horse so far. I'm not gonna lie, has been a wild horse. So let me actually scroll. Hello, KB, even to you. Hidden Agendas, emergency stream on Binance, are we sinking? Well, I mean, we'll get to it. If I talk about everything I'm about to talk about, in the first 10 minutes, and I'm not even looking at the chart, what's the point of actually watching? So I will talk about it. I'm just kind of going over what we talked about last stream and what I've basically been saying. So I mean, so far, apart from Ethereum, if we just kind of ignore the big old elephant in the corner of the room, it's been pretty good. But yeah, anyway, 1179 basically for Bitcoin, pretty decent. Decent retracement. Basically hit, I think, 121. Decent retracement from there. Ethereum's case, 3,550. I think we hit 3,600. Realm. Really, really nice movements for Ethereum, which is absolutely, crazy. And then obviously Solana's case, 176.8. Again, I think we've kind of peaked near about the $183 mark. which is kind of where I want it to go anyway. So pretty good so far. Currently in the 24 hour, because again, 1 hour has literally been 6 minutes. 0.43% down Solana, 0.4 up for Bitcoin, 0.12 down for Ethereum. Again, it's kind of hovering a bit. Obviously, we've had, again, in certain coins, like obviously Bitcoin's case, we have had retracements. But in Solana's case, we have only really just topped out recently in terms of hitting that high point. Ethereum's case, we're still going up. You know, we're tempering our move, but we're still going up. But Bitcoin's case, we have had a retracement. So, but still across the board, you know, in its respective move, we've kind of just hovered a bit. So, again, we will go onto it in a minute and actually see it in great detail. So, go on to 24-hour winners losers just to see what's going on, see if there's any coins. I have really missed 4chain. I don't know if it's died a death. I think it still exists, or I think it's still going. But I think it's I haven't seen it in a long time. The other one was Fartcoin, which is my new enemy, and you know it's there going up, which is never a nice thing. You know, to be fair, looking at the market, it's not a bad day. You know, again, there are a few things, quite a few things actually, but and you know what? To be fair, there's actually quite a few things, which aren't stable coins. But you know, overall, I think especially things in the 24-hour, which are like below maybe like 1%. It's not that bad, pretty decent day. Obviously, Pump.Fun, I was supposed to look at this. It's been going down ever since. But I don't know if I really want to look at it. I can't really be bothered, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, and then obviously we've got, I don't really care. Pi, don't get me started on Pi. You guys don't know. I'm not happy about Pi. How is the circulating supply? How is it that whatever. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna move on now. So chart, obviously this is Bitcoin. I do want to jump to Syrup quickly because we have hit our nice area we were talking about. That's not the chart, it's this one. So again, a bit messy on here, I know. I'm actually going to alt tab just to see if there's any chart before I go on to where's Bon Jovi down in Blaze of Glory. Well, it's not that bad. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think our move down's been that bad. It's not death realm, 90k Bitcoin type stuff, but it's it's having retracement. But anyway, Syrup. So let's go to the 1 hour. So basically, where we talked about it, it was basically, what did we talk about actually? Well, it must have been in this move. Did we hit it last stream? Oh no, we were just about hitting it. Here we go. Yeah, we're just about hitting it. Yeah, I didn't go back to Syrup at the end of the stream. So literally, yeah. So I talked about at the start of the stream, filling this area, which I talked about. And then since then we dumped. When did I talk? Did I only talk about it at the very start of the stream? I remember talking about the start of the stream. I don't know if I alt-tabbed to it at the end of the stream. I don't remember. I don't think I did. I think I was on Solana, then I went back to Bitcoin. So during the entire stream yesterday, when I literally came on, alt-tabbed, I was talking about this gap. As you can see, like in that 15-minute candle, we were coming into this gap and filling the rest of it, and obviously coming past all these highs here. Obviously, I was talking then, I think we continue down from here. Since that candle, absolutely just pooed it, and then, there you go. So we have hit the price again. Obviously, it was an unfortunate thing I had to give. I didn't want to say in a Maple stream when we're supposed to be what's the word for it? Praising Maple. I'm not saying coin going down means it's a bad project, but I would have wanted to say, oh yeah, I think Maple's gonna absolutely rip. Tomorrow and all that sort of stuff. But again, I had to tell the truth. So I think KK would be happy about this, even though he's not happy about a lot of things ever. He's never happy, but he's happy about things being unhappy because he's an unhappy soul from what it seems to be. But anyway, literally pretty much I drew this line. We've pretty much followed it pretty nicely. We even hit this. We hit the bottom of the arrow, which is not, I guess whatever. It's just silly. But okay, let's actually go on to, I'll just drew a line by accident. I can actually talk about actually what's happening now. So even though, because I wanted to be not conservative, but I didn't want to I wanted to aim for these. Obviously, coming past, I could have extended it, but basically, what I was saying on Wednesday, if you were there, you will know. I said basically I want to aim for these lows. I don't want to go. Oh yeah, we're gonna short here, and we've caught. We've caught the in this short. We've caught this move down, which is going to bring us all the way to 25 cent. Obviously that's just not not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be conservative. I wanted to give my opinion and be conservative. Not conservative to say, oh yeah, I think it's going to go lower, but I'm going to say this. It's like, okay, the rule of thumb is like, okay, I'm going to aim for in this case in a downtrend, I want to aim for the lows, and then I'm going to enter at this point because obviously we're in. I think we were talking back here. Obviously, we had kind of this retracement. I think was when we were talking about. You can see Wednesday. it was about 7, so we were about here. I talked about the rest of this gap, and I think we filled this. Am I on the right times? Yeah, I am. Because we streamed at 7, but I think I remember talking about this. But anyway, I think I remember talking about this gap, filling the entire thing, and then obviously coming down. I think what I said was getting in there. Why did I paste that there? When did we talk about it? 6, 7. Here. Yeah, I think it was generally in this area, and I think it was filling the rest of this and then coming down. I think what I was trying to aim for was only entering on the confirmation that we had filled this. We actually like came into these areas and then coming down. Because again, as I've been saying on the past stream and reiterating, it's like nothing's ever confirmed. You always want to make for a confirmation that what you've actually looked at on the chart and you think is going to happen actually does happen, and continues to follow the process. So I think that's kind of why I entered a bit lower in this area. I probably could have played a bit higher. Wednesday. I could have swore I remember talking about this, but the stream was this candle. Oh, not this candle. This line. But I think it was whatever. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about what we have now. So obviously this has happened. This is good. And then from here, basically, obviously we hit these lows. We then reversed. Normal. Especially in a downtrend. Again, I've been absolutely harping on about external range to internal range, all these things. This is external range. Again, we had this uptrend, we had downtrend. Obviously, we were following all these lows in this move. Again, we can focus on previous moves. We want to focus on these lows, but it's like, okay, if we're in this downtrend and we want to focus on these lows, we've come into internal range, which is this gap on the 15-minute which we looked at yesterday, or no, I said day before yesterday. Obviously filling this, then we want to aim for the lows, which was this. But in that meantime, we have these lows. We also have all these lows. Because again, you can see like we had these lows. We had this low, which we didn't quite hit. We also had this whole pack up. So we wanted to aim for there, regardless of what it is exactly. I wanted to aim for there. So we hit that, and then we reversed. You can see we started printing above these candles with this one. We were printing above here. We printed above all this with this candle. But the difference was, you can see the main... It depends on what time frame you're looking at. It depends on all these sorts of things. But realistically, you want to look at every single low and high. But if you look at it on a grand scheme, it's realistically that. So this wasn't really retracement. This was a retracement. Again, expansion and retracement, big expansion, decent retracement. Again, it wasn't very big, but except this is a massive high in this case in terms of this whole trend. Paying attention to this, I'm not completely not denying that this is a high. So clearly we printed past this, but the main thing is, we had this entire gap. Obviously, I have it drawn here. We have this whole gap, which we kind of came into and then came down. And obviously, we want to normally aim for the midpoint or round about there. And also, we came to it maybe off by 0.01 cents, whatever it would be. And obviously, then we reversed. And then we continued down. Because again, we didn't completely reverse and then do a higher... we didn't do a high and then a nice low and then a high. We didn't really do a nice move because we didn't get past this. We didn't get past any of these previous highs, which would have confirmed us. We kind of went in a straight line. If you look at it on the grand scheme of things, we kind of just did that. We didn't quite have a nice trend upwards, which broke past this and broke past this and all sorts of stuff. We kind of just had a retracement which came and came a bit higher than all this, which were these old highs, obviously. And then we just came into this area. So we were still kind of looking at, we're not fully in an uptrend yet on this 1 hour. And obviously coming into a decent area of resistance, regardless of what you're currently doing, candle by candle basis, if you're in an uptrend, downtrend, whatever, we're still coming into this a area where you should realistically look for sells. And obviously we came to this midpoint, and then obviously we sold. And then obviously, again, what I would say about this is like, okay, we've had this here. We're going to wait for this retracement after these lows. Where we're going to aim for? Well, we have these highs. We have this gap, especially the midpoint here. I want to aim for there. So we did that. We reversed. We came to this midpoint. And then since we're still in this downtrend, I think we've been in a downtrend for a while, especially going on a daily. It's like we're still in this downtrend. So realistically, the high time frame bias, whatever you want to talk about, it still should be down. So it's like, okay, cool. It's not like I'm going to long now. I'm definitely going to catch this bottom, and now we're going right up to 53 cents. I'm still looking for shorts. We're still in this downtrend. There hasn't been a print above a decent high, which is confirmed, especially on the daily anyway, which is confirmed that we should be going up. So looking for short, bang. If you want to aim for a short here, it would probably be here, probably stop on one of these highs, and then coming past the low. This is a very deep, a decent deep move. Again, we had this low and these lows. It kind of came past it, but it was quite a tight, take profit from this low. But this one we deep rooted. But then if you look back, it's like, what do we have? Well, we kind of have we had this old gap which came to the midpoint. So we kind of have something old. price stuff here. If we come to here, you kind of came into it, especially on these bodies, and we printed right on top of it. Came past these 3 lows here, and then pumped again. So again, a good area. There still could be potential for it. We haven't filled the entire thing. If we come back to it, obviously came a tiny bit low actually, but the majority of the move anyway kind of filled the entire thing. But again, you know, I'm just trying to see if there's anything behind us. This is kind of weak because again, we already came into it, so it's not a weak, or it's not strong. I wouldn't really pay attention to it too much. So in terms of trying to find that exact low, it's like there's probably not a lot. Maybe if I go to lower time frames, there could be something to pay attention to. Maybe this low could have been interesting, but regardless of what I would have paid, I wouldn't have put a take profit down here. I would have aimed for this. You know, if I was to trade this, it would have been not in terms of a safe than sorry type of thing, but I wouldn't have gone, oh yeah, I'm going to short here and I'm going to aim for 25 cent, like I just said. So a big, you know, deep retracement. And from this as well, you know, looking at it, yes, we have had these candles, but the main move had these massive bodies, you know, tiny wicks. This is definitely going to be a big area. A consistent area, so not a area you touch into, find a big short, and then just continue downwards. It's been a consistent, you know, resistance area. So continuing this again, I do think we're continuing downwards. We're just kind of retracing. We could maybe try and fill the rest of this. I mean, trying to look back anyway. Where is my thing? There it is. So we kind of have this as the last candle before this up move. And then paying attention to this, we kind of have this support, and then we came up, support this midpoint, and now we reversed it because obviously again we filled this and we're in this downtrend, and we want to aim for these lows anyway, so we pushed past it and obviously came to our area. So we probably have a bit of resistance in here anyway. So if we could maybe come to the rest of this gap and we find resistance at this midpoint here anyway, I do think we could continue downwards anyway for Syrup. But saying that, what I do want to do, this is the last thing I'll do. Again, I do want to go to Bitcoin because I know I talk so much about Bitcoin. I don't want to spend too much on Syrup, but I do want to draw one of these bad boys just to see how the deep retracement would look. And this comes deeper than, I mean, again, this equilibrium is also above this. You know, again, you want to look for us to actually come a lot higher than where we are. It's like I wouldn't want to look for a short. And you know, it's the thing is, it's like it's not a confirmed thing. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, we have to come above 0.5. It's like we can short from here. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a scenario where we do dump from here. But what I would say is, you know, it's a thing where I want to. It's kind of a rule of thumb where you want to look for a price to come a bit higher than where you do come to. And in this case, it's like, okay, well, what do we have above us in this main area you would want to focus on? Not saying we can't short above 43 cents, but if we want to aim for a really good, you know, really deep retracement upwards, we do have a gap here which resides pretty much in this area. So in terms of a decent retracement, again, we do have this main order block, which obviously is the last candle. It is this candle, but this is the last main candle before we kind of reverse and then start to move up. Again, this main candle, and then we kind of recovered the entire thing. So in this case, I'd want to aim for this candle, which you can see we are seeing a resistance at regardless. Obviously found support at this midpoint as well. So it's kind of one of those things where I would want to look for this as a resistance point now. So, you know, I'm not confirming that we are going to go up to, you know, 45 cents, but just a kind of a rule of thumb is it would be good if we could look for that area. So I'm not saying we short here. I'm not going to 15 minute on this. I really don't want to speak a ton about Syrup because, you know, this isn't the main chart. I want to look at Bitcoin. I speak for so long. Let me look at the chat. Let me have a look. I need some water actually because I feel my throat going dry. Kishan, I think I said hello. Hello, Kishan. Shout out to you, man. 99.9% never miss Oracle TA. You know this, Kishan. You're the GOAT. You're always the GOAT, man. Yeah, I mean, again, I think we've done pretty well. You know, on the past like 3 machines, we've done pretty well. I will say we haven't done too well. I haven't done too well on Ethereum, but I think globally we've done pretty well on Bitcoin, Solana. I think we've done pretty well, and Syrup as well. We've done pretty well. So 3 for 4. I'll take it. You know, I'm never gonna be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'll take it. You know. So Sky. Yeah. Just make sure because yeah, yeah. Shout out to you, man. I think you're here. Evening, the Rob side. Jettiv Link, AVAX popping off. I'll try have a look again. You're not a common to the stream. I talk a lot. All right, I speak a lot about Bitcoin. So the amount of times I've said, oh, I'm gonna try and look at this in the stream, and we've got to like 20 minutes past 10, which is realistically when I want to do an hour stream. I don't want to spend 2 hours. I want to you guys to spend 2 hours watching the stream. I will say I will try to look at, you know, one of them at least. I speak a lot, so the likelihood chance of me actually getting to those was pretty low because I do talk a lot, but I'll try. I'll have a look. Anyway, let's go to the Bitcoin chart. So there's nothing here because obviously I've got them in my groups. I forgot I'm supposed to be doing that because I noticed, you know, people want to read the price. You can see the price in the black, obviously, if you know, because I need to like unhide things. I don't want, because if I have everything drawn at the same time, it's like, what are we even looking at? You know, what am I looking at here? Because obviously I do things on the 50-minute, 1 hour daily, you know, this sort of thing. So I don't want to look at everything at the same time. So, you know, that's why I kind of have groups of stuff. So it makes it hard to keep that price there. So if you can see them, and I don't know how it is on the phone. I don't know if any of you guys watch on the phone. So I don't know how small this black thing is with the price. But it's what I would say is if you can see this price, that's where I would read the price from. Anyway, 1 hour. So what did we talk about last stream? Well, it was here. It was Thursday. 10. What I was talking about was if we actually had the 50-minute. See, I was talking about it here. We actually came. I think we came to this actually. I think I was talking about this gap as well. But anyway, my main thing I was talking about was this gap up here. This is the area. As I was talking about on syrup, you can come above the equilibrium, and you want to look for shorts then. So in this case, it's like, okay, the rest of this gap, as we are filling it, is above equilibrium. So we're in a premium. We want to look for shorts now. The rest of this gap to be filled is in premium. You can see it's like, okay, we would want to short the midpoint. But realistically, if we have a premium discount, we're still technically in discount. Over this entire move we've had, this whole short, we came above, we hit this high. Obviously, standard deviations. If you were there on that stream, you would have seen it. The entire move down until we hit into, again, it's messy, I know. This is the main area I've been talking about on the past 3 streams. We hit into this by a tiny bit. We printed exactly on it here, as you can see, and then we start to reverse from here. Obviously, we had our phase. We filled also the rest of this gap back here. We had this midpoint. We filled the rest of this. We also had this order block here, or now is actually, you know, obviously this down close, the last down close before the massive pump. Also in this fair value gap area, or void, whatever you call it. So we came to the midpoint of this as well. So a lot of support here. We reverse from there. So again, this is our range now. So in terms of, you can trade different things, but in this case, we're looking for the revert. We're looking for this like retracement. So trading the retracement, hitting into the premium, and then shorting again. So in this case, it was okay. Well, what do we have? We want to look for a short above equilibrium, and you know we can see, okay, 0.5 again. In this case, to look at this entire group of down close candles, where the gap should be. You know, we want to look at, you know, maybe the midpoint. Again, depending on what time frame, it depends on what you want to look at. But I look at the midpoint. You know, that's just an interesting, you know, a decent area. But it's never a rule of thumb. You know, it's like you always want to wait for the confirmation on a lower time frame that you're starting to reverse from the midpoint. Whatever, I've talked about this. I'm not going to yap again. I think the majority of when my stream, my camera's gone blue. Let me do this so it freezes. There we go. I think the majority of my stream, the length of time I talk really comes from over-explaining, I think. So I'm going to try and not do that. But, so obviously we've come to the top of this, and this is above equilibrium. So not saying we have to come 123 and above. We're not saying we have to do that. But in this case, in this, like, inter-trend on this uptrend, an inter-trend move, this was our high, this major high. So again, we had this major low, we had some, you know, this high on this downtrend. You know, we had, if we kind of like map it out, we have this and we move down, and then we kind of have this, and this is our major high. You know, obviously we have these mini highs and lows. This is our major high, major low, major high type of thing. So in terms of this uptrend, this is our major high above equilibrium, filling the rest of this gap. Down we go. We have gaps down here. I think I drew them. We also have order blocks on the lower time frames, which we wicked to. The exact bottom of here was actually on this wick. I'm not. I can go look at it, but again, we've already looked at it on our stream, so I don't really want to go over every single thing because again, it's kind of like exponential. If I go through every single thing I've drawn and then add on to it, and then the next stream, it's like recursive. If I do this over and over again, we're going to have 3 hours on Bitcoin, because I'm going to look, you know, I'm going to look back in like 2024, looking at the TA all the way till now. I'm not going to do that, obviously, so I'm not going to look at the order block, because it's going to take too long. But, and then it's like, okay, cool, we're still in this trend, though. We're still going up. We've just found a higher low. So, technically, we're in an uptrend in this scenario. We want to aim past this high, after we've found internal. We want to aim past the high. So, okay, let's stack our odds. Coming past the high, okay, what's the likelihood? Where would we stop? It's not saying the high is exactly where we're going to stop at, but where are we going to stop at? Where's the main reversal point? Well, okay, yeah, the high is probably a good area. We have these previous highs, but we have this main gap. This is our main area. Remember what we talked about. This is our main area. So this high, you know, just about coming past this isn't quite in that main area. But in this entire area, we have this gap, and then this is the midpoint. So what I talked about on Thursday was 128.69. I talked about this. I talked about this when we were down about here. And we were basically here and reversing. Obviously, we would obviously come above this. I had to stack the odds. I was like, okay, cool. We've done the higher low. We're going to aim for this high. Where are we going to stop at? And I said last stream, 128.69. So where did we actually come to exactly? We were 121. So again, it is actually, you know, a decent proportion in terms of dollars. But, you know, we were maybe 0.1, or not 0.1. We were about 10% off the high, but a pretty good high point there. So obviously we filled this. We still kind of came up a bit more into it, but again, the main high was at that price. And obviously there we reversed. And in this case, I'm not saying we have to, and I said this Thursday as well, when I was talking about this, not saying that we come into this and we do reverse. I would want to look at it in the moment as well, just to watch the price move. But realistically, this is where we should probably be shorting from. And obviously, when we then continue. I hate pressing space because it takes you off. There we go. Not saying we had to reverse from here. And then obviously we continued our thing. This is where we should realistically sell at. And then we had a massive expansion downwards for the reversal, retracement, expansion. This is major moves down. So this is going to be our new range as we're going to look at. But that's the main TA. That's the main TA. So I drew this, you know, just before the stream started. I didn't look at Ethereum and Solana too much. I looked at Syrup just to see what I could talk about. And then I looked at Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin and Solana. Because I was like, I want to look at Ethereum in the moment to see what's going on. But I had a glance at Solana, mainly looked at Bitcoin, and I drew this quickly. So let's, well, even though this is the 1 hour, I'm going to hide this main area because we kind of have it done. What I like having it to watch it back, but I might delete it because it's kind of in the way. Okay, what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to hide this, and then we can get a rule of thumb if we draw this whole, you know, move. Obviously not saying this is going to be the low, because obviously we could have drawn it here and continued this. And again, this is kind of like a thing where it's like if you're following this move down, it's like, okay, I want to look for parts in above this. I also want to draw the gap. It's like, okay, I would want to aim above. It's like, okay, cool. Well, what do we have? We have midpoint here and we have equilibrium. So I want to aim for 119.650. We didn't quite hit that, so I wouldn't have looked to get into it. Obviously, maybe on the 15-minute we could have seen a reversal, but it's not. That's not the point. It's like if it's not in that period, it's like, you know, no strategy is gonna find a trade every single time. It's one of those things. Obviously, continuing down again now to this low. Not saying this is going to be the low, but, you know, like I said, just like how this wasn't the low, this doesn't necessarily have to be the low, but it's a pretty decent low to retracement. Obviously, we're only really retracing to the gap now, and it's the same thing. It's like this is now, you know, the gap. We've come to the midpoint, and we're starting to come down. Again, all these lows, or all these, like, kind of inter-trend lows, even if you could count these lows, let's say, just an example, if you use these lows, it's this, we've printed past this, with the candles, obviously candle body to candle body. But the main thing you want to use is this one. So it's like we've still printed this downtrend. So if it goes to 50-minute, we're now technically in a downtrend. This is the same thing actually here. I think I've actually already drawn this. I drew this range. Then we had this. We had this range here. So it was kind of like this. You know what? I should just unhide it actually. I don't want to draw this gap. There we go. Oh, it's kind of messy actually. Okay, what I'll try to do, I'm gonna try extract this TA and make a new group so I can just look at it quickly and not have to look at everything. Okay, cool, there we go. So this is kind of what I've drawn so far. I have stuff on the 15-minute. Actually, 15 minutes okay. Actually, 15 minutes okay. So this is what I've drawn. This is just quick stuff, just watching the price, just retroactively going through the price, just to see what we were doing. So we kind of had this moment. We had this move past this low, big wick. Big retracement immediately from that. Obviously, we had these lows back here. This basically stack of lows. We didn't actually hit this one, but this main low anyway had this kind of equal low here, which is obviously stacking there. But it was mainly this range we had going on. We were kind of sitting in this whole area. Then we came past this, and then we moved upwards past the range. But this is the thing. It's like it's not like we expand until we hit an area where we want to sell at. And in this case, obviously, we had this midpoint of this gap on the 15 minutes. We came to the midpoint pretty much exactly here. Obviously, we went a tiny bit, but we came to the midpoint pretty much exactly here. And obviously, we then reversed, printed past this, and then we eventually printed past the low, and then continued downwards, a big downtrend. There we go. So that's what we had. That's what I was looking at. And kind of while we reversed from this position, this was also near the midpoint on the 1 hour. So it's kind of a stacked, again, the price is fractal, so it kind of looks at the same thing. So if you really look at it, it's like, okay, within this candle, this was kind of the main area, but still within the 1 hour, it's still technically the midpoint of this main range. So actually, I'm going to hide the group so we can actually see a bit more. So in this case, we had this order block, the last up close before this down move, which prints past this and engulfs it. So we can see we have this print. This is also showing that example, like I said, of printing past this entire candle. I was talking about this one. Realistically, it should be here, to be fair. I should probably shimmy that up, but whatever. We're printing past these lows. We're in this downtrend now. I'm going to delete this. It's kind of in the way. So then obviously we had this move, we have this order block, we came to midpoint, continued. That was massive expansion down here as well. 2 green candles, filled the entire thing pretty much to the T here. So anyways, obviously I would have wanted to aim for this midpoint, but again, if we look at the entire start of the downtrend to the end, we have this lower, obviously 15-minute range we have going on. We actually hit same thing here. It's, to be fair, it's the same thing where it's like we have the midpoint at the equilibrium. But if you remember, obviously, this is the main area. And you can see we actually hit the midline of this kind of main sell area nearly exactly. Obviously, in this case, it's like, it's not saying we have to hit. It's like, at that point, I might as well use fib tools and retracements. It's like, this is just a percentage arbitrary value. It's not a guideline where we have to hit 118,242. It's kind of the thing where, like, in this range, if you have something which is within this kind of area, it's normally it's normally indicates a deeper retracement high where you really want to look for a short then. And in this case, obviously, you know, in the moment, it's like, okay, we have the blue line, but this is where the high of the gap ends. We want to look for a short, not say we have to look for a short here, because that's really tight. And it's the thing is, like, you could look for a short here, have a stop here, and then get out at the, it's the same thing. It's like, it doesn't matter where you get in. You don't have to get pinpoint accuracy. You could short it there, stop there, see where the risk reward is. Okay, cool. That's a bit too much. So you could probably aim for a 2 risk reward ratio, whatever you want to aim for. If you want to aim for a 3, obviously that's more risk. But the general rule of thumb is, like, you could aim here. Obviously, this is the low. You could aim lower. In this case, you wouldn't have got out the trade yet because we haven't hit there. But want to aim for here. If you want a 2 risk reward, you could just put it arbitrarily 2. You can maybe do it deeper. Again, it depends if, like, the tighter you want it, depending on what leverage you do. Obviously, this or the other. But if you want to aim for a 2, I know a lot of people do. Some people do 3 again, and you wouldn't have got out there. If you were to just get in at equilibrium, and again, this is the thing. You don't when I look at this, it's like I don't want to enter just at here. If it's a longer term thing where it's like, you know, in 2 days we could hit this area. You know, you might not be looking at the chart in 2 days. You know, if you're not looking at the chart, but you want to take a longer term trade where you have the aspiration that you want price to hit that area and then come down. It's like, if you might not be at the chart when it hits there, so you could short. And it's like, if you're watching the chart on the lower time frame and you're intraday trading, yeah, okay, cool. Put a shorter stop loss, watch it actively move, and then, you know, try and go as close as possible, and then there you go. But it's like, in this case, even though we're on the 50-minute, you know, it's like I would want to look for here. I'm not saying we have to short here. I wouldn't get in just yet. I wouldn't do a limit. I'd probably want to do like a market and watch it move. But obviously, if you were to enter this case and on this midpoint and have a 2 risk reward, it's like you would have had this trade. You know, the takeout would have been really crazy here. But anyway, that's besides the point. If we put this here, actually, so it's the same thing. It's like, okay, cool. We've had this area, and we're still in this downtrend. I'm now actually finally going on to current TA. I'll go to the 1 hour in a second, just so we can jump back and see what's going on longer term. But what we've already filled this. I could probably delete this gap. We don't want to look at it anymore because we've used it. Obviously came to this point nicely. There we go. So we have this support. We've used support. We kind of wicked out of it here, but again, main print here in this main area. Obviously, coming past these lows. We already talked about filling this gap and coming down. Still in this downtrend. We haven't printed past these lows. Oh, it depends on what time frame, I suppose, we're looking at. But we're still in this downtrend. We haven't printed past the highs yet, which is kind of the main important thing. But again, this is technically support. So, you know, it's like technically, I mean, it's not, because for every downtrend, you know, the last down close before the up close, it's like, yeah, technically, you know, certain things like this, we don't necessarily have support here. And obviously, in this case, you wouldn't want to look for support here because this is the resistance. But, you know, in this case, it's kind of one of those things where it's just a general rule of thumb. This is the last down before we move up. So I just draw the order block there. And it also kind of engulfs. I probably would have looked at it here. And again, it depends on the 15-minute. It's like we have this... we have this candle, and if we draw the entire thing across it, it's like, yeah, we do come back into it and kind of come up again, but it's not something we want to look at, because again, we have this major resistance here, which obviously we come to and then come down. So it's like, it's not, I wouldn't really want to look at it, but you know, this is the main support one we have. we have been using it. We've come a bit deeper than this one. This one kind of wicked and then came up. We've come deeper, which is what we want to do in this downtrend. If we were to look for like reversal, it's like, okay, we've technically done this new low, so we want to look for internal. And in this case, we're obviously still doing this candle. In terms of the 4 candle, like, okay, one of the things you can look at as well is the 4 candles of, you have these 2 previous ones. You look the candle before this last move, and then if we start to move up and print past these candles, it's like, okay, we've kind of done this reversal where it's like, okay, we've printed past these. This is now, we're changing, and we could potentially moving up again, which makes sense. Again, we have come to a support area. In the difference between this case and this case, even though this candle didn't print here, and then technically this isn't a gap, we still retrace it. We still have these candles, regardless of if it's a major. Like in this case, this is kind of breaking away and then moving back up into it and then breaking away. And this was order block, to be fair, but in the sense that if you have a massive retracement, the gap will be in between the candles. But in this case, it's like we still are using these candles as a, okay, there could still be shorts here. We're coming up a tiny bit and then we're coming down again. So it's kind of more on an individual level where we have these kind of main kind of candle bodies where we've come into these areas on an individual scale where candle by candle basis, as we're coming down, we could still potentially have these shorts in here. So that's also something to pay attention to. So we still have a reason to come down on the internal. Now, if we look where we are now, we've taken the lows, we've continued down, especially this major low, because we've kind of main low, high, and main low, main high here, and then we continued in these mini kind of retracements. We can see it's kind of, we kind of found a support here, and then came up and obviously came down, filled this, came down. We're still technically in this intermediary downtrend. Obviously, we're starting to come up now here anyway, so the main thing, we've done this low. We want to look for something behind us to find resistance at. We do technically have this old high. If we could wick past it, maybe we could come down. But I think the thing is, for me, is once we get past this area, especially if we print here, that's starting to be the change now. We're starting to be the change. And obviously, if we remember this whole thing, we could potentially have a bit of a support point here, which kind of has if I get the pen back out, same thing that I've talked about head and shoulders and the reasons and whatnot. We could potentially have this again. Last time I did this on the 15-minute on Ethereum, we went right past it. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but looking at it on the short time frame before we jump to the 1 hour and look a bit higher, what I could see is we could be very close to having a scenario where we're starting to have a bit of an uptrend on the 15 minutes. And then from there, it's like, okay, we do have resistance here, but we don't really have gaps. We don't really have, major order blocks per se, or anything of resistance too much behind us. So I would start to think we could start to come up again. And in that case, it's like, okay, we could start to see a bit above us. But again, before we say that, now I can segue onto looking at, if we jump that in there we go. This is also on the lower time frame. There we go. Now we can go back to the 1 hour and then kind of talk about this have a bias and actually really talk about it. So now we can look at this again. So if we were to come back upwards, what would stop us on the higher time frame? Well, we've come to the midpoint. We do have this major thing here, and what we haven't done yet, what we haven't done yet is draw this whole range which we've actually come from, which is obviously to this high. You want to do the last high before the move down, so we probably want to look at this high instead. And in this case, it's like, okay, what do we have? Well, this is the previous. I want to hide this for now because it's kind of in the way. There we go. So what do we have here? Okay, cool. We now have our premium discount, this, that, the other. And again, here it's the same thing we were talking about. We do find resistance here. I'm not saying there can't be shorts here, but in general, it's like, okay, we want to look for a major short, again, relative to the 1 hour, where we hold it for longer, not on the 15-minute where we hold it for 2 hours or 1 hour, whatever. Relative to the 1 hour, where we hold it for a longer period of time. Looking at here, we want to aim a bit higher than where we are right now. So in this case, it's like, okay, well, we have this previous gap, which we haven't come to the midpoint of. We kind of have come back into it and then came down. But this is more of just a retracement before the move down. This isn't really we've broken away and now we've formed this gap and whatnot. So if we now look at this, we have this gap, which comes to the midpoint. We could fill the rest of this and find a short here. That is true. But I think, again, if we really want to aim for a deep retracement and watch price as it goes, we want to aim for this area. Now, what's very interesting about this area is now that we've drawn this gap between these two candle bodies, the midpoint actually pretty much lies directly on this major point to aim at, where we have a really, optimum area to enter. So in this case, it's like, okay, we have this previous high before this major move, and we have this midpoint to potentially aim at as well for a short. So what I would want to do is, it kind of looks like we're in the area of hovering. Again, on the 50 minute, we have potential to maybe start a reversal. Not saying we do. Again, not financial. Actually, also in general, not financial advice. Do bear that in mind. But even with this candle, actually, you can see like on the 1 hour, we have this major move, which had this massive candle down, massive candle back up, which kind of has a wick all the way back up. We have this low as well. We also have this previous low from this whole move. And you can see within this whole one candle, we've had this wick down. You can see we actually take everything out. And now we're starting to, like I said, do that 4 hour thing where we have previous candle, main candle. And then if we print above here on this main area, in this candle, we start to have this reversal. I could definitely see this reversal. Secondly, as well, this is also this change in state where we've come above these candle bodies, and it's about to print soon. We could even start to come above this. So again, it's all it depends on where we print on the 50 minute, but it does look like we could potentially be printing a reversal where we could start to now come upwards again on the 50 minute. And if we continue that up until the 1 hour, then obviously this will pay attention. This obviously it will take multiple candles on the 50 minute for the translation of this trend to happen on the 1 hour. It's like things, on the 1 minute, we could be in a massive uptrend, but it will take a lot of candles and a lot of time for that to translate on the higher time frame. So it's like on the, 50 minute, if we continue an uptrend for a while, and, let's say it's 24 candles worth, and we kind of do this, okay, well, we've had this move, and kind of we've started to do this, let's say, it will take multiple 15 candles for it to do that, but on the 1 hour, it might only be a few. So, it's longevity of a move. If the 50 minute continues to be positive and has a massive uptrend, which has multiple good highs and lows, then on the 1 hour, we'll eventually start to translate that. So if we can continue to do what we potentially might do on the 50 minute right now, then we could start to see us retrace into above here. And again, like I said, I preferably, and it's the same thing here. So technically, in this move, as we looked, we didn't get to midpoint. We faltered a tiny bit, and then we dumped. So we didn't quite hit this. I wouldn't have wanted to get in a trade. But again, it's all hindsight. It's all this, that, the other, whatever. So I would want to look for coming above 118.821, whatever, and look to enter taking this high and here and then having a big dump. So it depends, obviously, not financial advice, whatever. I'm not saying this will happen, but it's just my opinion. But that's kind of what I'm feeling for Bitcoin so far on the 1 hour and the 50 minute. That's kind of my whole thing. We've got 50 minutes left. I know I yap. I should just extend these 50 minutes more, because I just never will get it in 1 hour. Especially when I go 50 minute, 1 hour, it's a bit much. But now we can quickly look at I've talked about this last stream before. I want to look at this main area, because again, we've been in this downtrend now. We've had this move. To be fair, even though we're maybe aiming for here, I don't want to print above this. If we have this downtrend and print above here, then obviously it's not very good. But I mean, technically, it's like soon we might already be in that trend anyway. So yeah, ignore me. But the main thing I want to aim for, especially, is definitely coming to this area. I've talked about this. I think people have talked about this. I've had this for a while now in terms of looking at this major area, because it's like price wants to come and have a major retracement to these areas to have a good buy area. And again, if we actually look at, it's like, okay, where do we put the range? I will consider this the range. This is the start of this whole move. I will consider this the start and this the end. Obviously, that's the previous high. And then if we look at here, it's like, okay, well, this whole gap, it sits within this optimum area. This is, where are we? This is equilibrium at this low. We can see we wicked. I'm not saying, oh yeah, well, oh look guys, we wicked into this and then we longed. Oh yeah, it's long here. But again, we wanted to retrace coming into this area. It's the same thing here. It's like we had this whole range up, and then we retraced below equilibrium. We had the previous support, we had the order block, we have this, the start of this gap. We wicked into it and then we came up. But I think, again, downtrend scenario, we haven't done a new high or anything like that. We've come past these lows now. I think we found our resistance again at this area. I think we're retracing deeper. I think we come past this low. We want to aim for this low and these lows, obviously. And I think we come even deeper into, midpoint of 114, maybe 112, all this area. I do think this is going to be a good area to want a longer term long at for Bitcoin. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on the higher time frame. That's like the outer scope of Bitcoin. So obviously we can probably move out onto Ethereum now. I've given the 50 minute, given the 1 hour, I've given the higher scope. So again, that's my opinion, not financial advice. Ethereum. Now, there's this tiny little morsel of my body which is saying to me, do you know what? Yeah, just don't even bother with Ethereum. Just go to Solana and then try and jump onto some new TA. You know, do something live, do some new TA. Because I don't seem to have the knack. I don't seem to have the Ethereum knack. You know, there's just something about it. I just don't seem to be able to do it. So where are we? Where are we actually? That's a good question. Okay, so what we have. Okay, we were talking about this main area, 114, 3450 basically, this area. Obviously we had damn, it's getting messy. I just need to start deleting some of this. What is this? Oh yeah, this is what is this actually? Is this the gap? I think it is. Yeah, so yeah, here we go. We had this main retracement. And within this, obviously we have the major gap. And obviously, this is the thing, it's like, you know, things work well. Sometimes things fall short. Sometimes things work perfectly, and this is the case where something falls too extreme, you know. And again, nothing will ever be perfect. So in this case, it's like, okay, same thing I've been talking about, coming above equilibrium. We want to aim for this optimum area where we have kind of 3,539, and you can see this is like the limit. And again, it's like we're starting to hit the limit here. You know, we're really starting to hit the limit where, okay, there is this high, there is the rest of this gap, there is this high. We could, same thing which Bitcoin has technically right now, where we have this high, we have this gap. This is the daily, to be fair, though. We want to aim for the 1 hour, actually. But again, even on the 1 hour, we're in this period where the only previous price action to kind of look at is ages ago. So, you know, it's one of those things where I can look at this and go, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, well, we've come up, we had massive expansion, we had this big expansion, we've hit an area, now we're starting to retrace to look for internal. We've come to the midpoint of this internal, now we're coming up. But we haven't hit that. We haven't hit that external yet, to be fair. But yeah, we're kind of just doing this kind of deep retracement. This doesn't look like an expansion. This is quite a deep. This is quite a normal retracement. It does look like a downtrend, but it isn't a major downtrend if we look, you know, backwards anyway. So it just looks like it just looks like, look, we have a decent expansion, decent retracement, decent, you know, big expansion, and it looks like we're gonna have a decent retracement. So what it looks like, obviously, we have this move, we had this candle before the up move here, which obviously we've kind of used as support for a bit. We could potentially be printing above these candles now, which could potentially start us back up into this uptrend. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, are we slowing down? Where's our point of slowing down? All these sorts of things. So again, the high, we don't want to aim for the midpoint here because we've already hit that ages ago. So what we have above us is the only thing to really aim for is we actually have these equal highs as well. Which are going to be, you know, important as well. We have this major high at 3,746, but it's getting to the point where we're really high now, and it's like, where's the limit? I'm not saying where's the limit, but there's going to be a point where there's not much for me to look at before we start to look at the highs of Ethereum. So it's like, okay, what can we really look at here? If we go, okay, I'll just go back to the daily just to look. And, you know, like I was just saying, it's like we do have the rest of this. This is a major gap as well. Obviously, we kind of came into it, but sitting at about 3,790. Again, we have this high. But if we don't follow this area, what is there between here before we start to hit 4,200 and start to do new highs for Ethereum? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where there's only so many things I can look at before it starts to get to the point where I'm saying, oh yeah, here we go, 4,100. But, you know, I'm not saying we are going to hit 4,100. So, you know, do bear that in mind. So again, we have these highs, which could be something interesting to look at. And again, if we look back, it's like we haven't had that yet in terms of having a major area where we have equal highs and we could have a decent area to sell at. We do have that area. So I do think, you know, I don't think we're in a downtrend now. I do think we could start to come back upwards again for Ethereum. Again, we've kind of done this. This isn't what you, in terms of looking if you've come back into an uptrend. It's like we don't want to look for the lows. Oh, we've done a higher low. We're gonna come into an uptrend now. We've had this downtrend. We've had these lower highs, lower lows scenario. This is a lower high. It's like this major move anyway. You know, this whole kind of move down, move up. I'm kind of moving down now. I'm not saying this isn't a major move, but it's like, okay, we have all these candles here, obviously these highs and whatnot, maybe even this high. It's like, okay, if we can print above this and start to, you know, kind of start to come upwards, it's like, okay, we're just going to be back in an uptrend again, and we're going to start taking, you know, this, and obviously eventually maybe even aim for those highs. So it's like, okay, I don't think we're done. And again, if I was to not listen to anything I would say in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, I would pick Ethereum, because the amount of times I have sold Ethereum short on so many areas. My first, obviously, area was looking at this midpoint. Obviously, we filled the rest of this gap. I was looking at this gap as well, even, to be fair. But obviously, this is the main area. Looking at this midpoint to this area, the midpoint of that is going to be this 3,450 area. So I talked about that area. And, you know, we did hit this. And I think I talked a bit back here. I was like, okay, well, we've hit this midpoint. We could potentially start to look for a downtrend. I even talked here, oh, on the 15-minute, we could be coming down. But we didn't, you know, we pumped massively. It's like, we had this massive move, obviously, from this area. And then we started to slow down a bit here. We didn't do any, again, there was nothing really here, apart from the 15-minute where we were slightly maybe doing a downtrend. There's nothing on the 1 hour which really showed that we didn't have anything. We had this whole gap, which we've filled. You know, we had this whole area where, oh yeah, why would we go down? Well, we've look, you know, expansion, retracement, expansion, retracement, expansion. It's like we didn't have anything. In this case, it's the same thing. I'm not going to be foolish. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Or yeah, something like that, whatever it was. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, we had this gap. Let me draw it properly, actually. I should probably just do this one, actually. Yeah. Same thing here. Obviously, we had this gap. And in this case, you know, if we were to apply our thing, it's like, okay, well, we have the midpoint. It's the same thing we've done so many times. We have the midpoint. We have this equilibrium at the endpoint. We could look for along there, and yeah, we did that. But you can see the low of this was within this optimum area, which is within 6279. We did that, and then we start to come up again. So in theory, if we're looking at taking out these highs and looking for retracements, this is not the retracement tool, but this is what we want to look for these retracements. We've had that retracement. We want to look for the highs again. So it's like, okay, in my best kind of, you know, in my not foolish idea, we should be aiming for the highs. So we want to look for these highs and take out these highs. And then it's only at that point where, is this going to be a reversal, or is it going to be taking out the highs, expanding to take out the high, and then retracing and then expanding again? Or is it taking out the highs, having this whole sell area, having an expansion up, and then or a trend up and an expansion downwards? So it's like, it depends on how we move upwards. It depends on if these, you know, if we're just taking out the highs or whatever. But obviously these are technically equal highs. You know, you want to start to pay attention to these. It's not just a normal uptrend. We're now starting to see equal highs, especially on the 1 hour as well. So will Ethereum end its up move soon? Again, we've got plenty below us. We have this whole area we haven't even come into before we even see this. So it's the same thing with Bitcoin, in my opinion. I think it's just very latent, where Bitcoin had, I showed it, we had the 114k, we had these lows. I think Ethereum has that. I just think Ethereum was very late to the party, but has come out, you know, has come in with multiple packs and, you know, got it ready, you know what I'm saying? So I think we could be having that, where we have these similar scenarios like Bitcoin, where we have, okay, well, we have this gap, and then we have this gap, and if we look for the major retracement from, you know, if we look at this whole move, same thing with Bitcoin, to be fair as well. It's like we had this initial move, we had a hoverage, and then we started the uptrend. So then again, you know, if we actually look at delete these for now, if we actually just look at the major move we've had, these gaps are sitting, you know, within this area, as we have with Bitcoin as well. So again, it's I think it's starting to be very similar to Bitcoin. I think it's just done it very fast. And in Bitcoin's case, we've spent quite a while going up. We've hit our high. We've already started the retracement. I think in Ethereum's case, it's like, have we seen that retracement? Well, I mean, if we just really look at it, we had the gap. We've come to fill it. We could be potentially doing a high. Again, we've slightly slowed down. Even though we came up, we didn't hit the retracement and expand. So it's like, okay, do we have more room to retrace? Are we going to dump fast? You know, again, it's up to interpretation. It's my opinion. Again, none of this is set in stone. But you know, it depends how we print. But I do think we are going to print above these candles. I do think we could start a bit more of a move up and then aim for these highs before we potentially look for a move down. But then in that case, it'll start to push up equilibrium. We probably have this gap as well. We have all these gaps. So I think it's a very similar sign with Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin, we've already hit that high for sure. We've already hit that high. But in Ethereum's case, you know, our major low so far, again, where we had these expansions and retracements, this is our retracement. So if we start to print past 3,477, that's when we probably should pay attention to us being in a downtrend and us aiming for the lows, like I think with Bitcoin already. So that's what I think on Ethereum's case. Solana. Let's look. So Solana's been a bit more of an easier thing to look at. Again, Bitcoin and Solana have been good to me. They've been good to me, you know. They've been really friendly, and they've, you know, they've just followed. They've just followed along. You know, they've just been really good. They've just followed along. I've said what I think, and they've done. You know, it's not like they've done something crazy. You know, they're not going, oh, you know what we'll do? We'll come to $222 for Solana. You know, they've done normal moves. They've had a nice move up. So in Solana's case, what did I talk about last stream? Well, let's think. I say a lot of things. You know, it's hard. I remember talking about this. I remember talking about this gap. I remember talking about coming into this support. We had this whole thing. I'm trying to remember. We had this. Yeah. So I think we can look at. Okay. I know how to do it. Last stream was Thursday at 9-ish. Or it would have been about 10 something because, again, we were quite late. So it was about here, this candle. We had the retracement. You know what, let's go to 15-minute, actually, because then we can see exactly what it was. It was about, I think it came past a bit, I think about like 10:30, which was about here. It was this candle. So we already came into here. Why did I draw this? I'm trying to look, actually. There's no, I don't know why, there's no, you know what, there's sometimes I spend an hour and a half talking about something, and then there's just something which looks mad. I don't know why I drew this. I'm trying to look. There's no reason for this to be down here. I don't know. This would have been here, but again, this was like after the fact. I don't know. It would have been after the fact. I don't know why I drew this. Because it was down here. I don't know why I had this drawn. I can't remember. Maybe it was something else. I don't remember. I don't remember why I drew that. But regardless, during the period on about 10:30, we already came down to support, and then obviously we already started to have that move. Well, we didn't actually have that move up. We started the move up, and then obviously we had that reversal from this support. You know, coming into this candle as well. This whole rejection block and whatnot coming from this order block. Actually, it goes to 1 hour again. Probably a bit easier. We obviously had this low. We can see it nearly touches it here. And then we continued. I must have marked out the low. And you know, even though marking out the low, this is the support. We've already had the support. And then obviously we start to come up again. So either way, I was looking for an uptrend because, again, my whole thing so far has been, I don't think it's been 100. It might have been 185. But I think my main point I definitely remember saying explicitly was I think we could at least come above 182.6, which was this equilibrium. And then what have we done so far? Well, what are we doing on a high? We came just about 1% above it. We hit that equilibrium. And again, I would have watched it on the lower time frame. I would have watched our reversal. But the main kind of topic was we definitely wanted to come up with equilibrium. And then, you know, there you go. So in this case, we've done that. What do we have then? So, you know, big expansion, move up. We've actually filled the entire thing. Well, in this case, we don't want to aim. We don't want to actually really look at that. We probably want to look at it on a smaller scale, looking at the last low before we move up. And we look at this case. We actually came to this line. We actually wicked pretty far. Oh, not pretty far, but we actually wicked pretty aggressively down actually. But we hit this on the candle bodies pretty nicely on this midline anyway, or on this you know, arbitrary area. And now we're below this kind of resistance. You know, we're kind of seeing a bit of resistance. It's a bit choppy actually. Now, what I'm interested in looking at actually is to see if we could have a bit of a if we've had a bit of a kind of thing going on here where we've done this and then we start a bit of a, you know, down and then we start to ramp up, you know what I mean? So we could be, you know, we could have a bit of a ramp up, you know, if we consider it being a, you know, we've had a move up and a move down, and obviously we've kind of hovered in this area, and then we've had a big move down, and then are we going to start a bit of a move up for Solana? So in that case, if we've had a bit of a, you know, hoverage or consolidation, manipulation, expansion, what would we look for then? Well, we could potentially have certain areas back here, but I think for me, it would be retracing in this whole move we've had. If we did have a move up, I want to see. That's not what I wanted to do. If we were to see resistance, if this isn't a scenario where we've continued, you know, we've had this move up, move down, move up, move down, move up. We haven't come past this low. We haven't done anything like that. We've definitely had change in states. We've definitely come past some of these candles, especially up here. We haven't had this really, you know, normal retracements. But we haven't come past these lows. We haven't printed down. So on the 1 hour, from what I can see, we haven't started a downtrend too much. Obviously, we've had these mini, you know, these inter moves. But we haven't done anything of the sort. We haven't come past these lows. So we're still in this uptrend by all means. So in that case, it's definitely aiming for the highs if we were to look at that. Also, what I do want to look at, though, if we were to have a range for this, we obviously have had this main area here. What do we have? Well, we had a previous gap here from this expansion downwards, which we filled the entire thing, came down. So from here, we definitely have this high as well. We have this high. And then that's pretty much it. We don't really have anything. This gap isn't really, I don't think this gap's very good. This isn't an expansion. This is an expansion. This is retracement. And then we moved it. We definitely had moved down, but we didn't really expand downwards, where there could still be potential for. So in that case, we kind of had an expansion downwards here. We already retraced back into it, and now obviously we're hovering again because of we kind of consolidated. We came past this, and we could potentially be having a bit of a move up now. We also had all these highs here, which we had this wick pass as well, which is interesting to look at. But anyway, if we did have this kind of consolidation in this entire area, obviously I know these are candle bodies and whatnot. I'm not really looking at the wicks, but if we were to look at this whole move, it's like, okay, from on the 50-minute anyway, it would be an uptrend. So it would start in an arbitrary area anyway. It would have started, let's say, there. So it would have been this whole kind of range where we've had this kind of whole thing going on, where we've definitely had this massive consolidation with all these highs. And then we've had this print past, and now we've started to come up again. And what we've also done is we've had this massive candle, which has come into all these lows, which is obviously a point of interest. And then we've had this kind of we've engulfed it. We've come above it. So this could be a support point. So kind of draw this whole area. You can see on the midpoint of it, if we go to this, you can see we've actually started to use this midpoint as support here. So if we recover this candle, this is going to start to be a support as well as a propulsion and a higher order block. So we could potentially see support on this candle as well if we continue on upwards. Obviously, we're still doing that, so I can't say for certain. But we've definitely seen support in this candle. We've definitely come down. We've definitely seen support here. So we could have. I think we've formed support now within this. So I do definitely think we could maybe push a bit higher for Solana. And again, this is the thing. It's like, if we look at the market, Ethereum's been pumping. Solana's been pumping. Obviously, in this case, we've had retracements. But on the 7-day, if you really look at it, you can see the worst off of anybody. Again, Bitcoin's had a very massive move up. And it was very fast and quite early to the party in terms of seeing our high and then retracing. So it makes sense to say, oh yeah, in Bitcoin's case, we could definitely see those retracements and have a retracement. Even if Solana and Ethereum are still going up, in Bitcoin's case, it's like we can still go down relative to the time frame we've had, and it's kind of distorted where obviously Solana's gone up in a normal uptrend, Ethereum's going up in a nice, massive move up. But in Bitcoin's case, we had a really, I'm not saying it was obviously everything went up, but in terms of the how rapid Bitcoin went up and then found its high and then had started that retracement. If you compare it to Solana and Ethereum, it's definitely been a lot faster. So I definitely think I could come away from the stream and say, I think Bitcoin's going down still, or retracement, whatever I said exactly, I think retracement down still. Solana's case, I think I can still say Ethereum could go a bit higher to see the highs. Solana's case, we've maybe just found support. We could push a bit higher, for some of these areas and then come down. But in this case, it's like, okay, cool. Same thing with Solana. If we have this uptrend down, up, down, up, this is the high. Same thing with Ethereum, where we have the high. We want to aim for that. We're in an uptrend still. We haven't gone past the low. We want to aim for internal and then find external, which is the high. And while I'm saying this, we haven't actually come, and this is the nuance here. We haven't actually come to a gap. We still have these highs. And also as well, with this whole equilibrium, this is a massively high, this is a high time frame stuff as well. And, realistically, I could maybe use some of these lows or some of these highs anyway. But regardless, this is the major area. We haven't come into it. Same thing with Solana's, or with Ethereum's case, we've come deeply into it. Bitcoin's case, obviously, we formed our thing. We didn't have any price action. It was 120, whatever it was, K, 123, 5K, whatever it was. So in terms of seeing a premium discount, obviously Bitcoin, we couldn't have that. Ethereum's case, we've come really deeply into it. But Solana's case, we haven't actually come anywhere near it. And again, it's the same thing back here. It's not saying we have to come into it. It's looking to see if we come above it, and then we start to see a chance for a reversal. So in that case, for me, it would be, okay, well, we have those equal highs. We had equal highs, which took which got taken by this high and then had a massive retracement. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a sensitive area at 187.7. We also have the rest of this we could potentially see a bit more of a retracement to. But then we also have this intermediary gap or longer gap at 220. So I'm not saying we come to 220, but you know, I think 220 is a bit high. Relative, you know, because again, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin can move separate to each other. But I think relative, if the market is in a certain scenario across the board, you know, I think. But I'm saying this as well. It's like I am saying, oh yeah, well Solana, it has to move as the market. But I can recall back not too long ago, maybe, you know, when would it have been? Like 6 months ago, whenever it was. I think maybe during the end of last year, Solana was pumping. You know what? I could look at it on the chart even. I think it was this case, yeah. On the start of this year even. Solana was, I remember talking about this as it was going on. I remember Solana pumping and nothing else was pumping. So it's one of those things where I think Solana, and it has done before, could move higher rapidly and it be fine. Because again, Bitcoin moved up rapidly, having retracement. Ethereum's moving up rapidly, hasn't had that retracement. So maybe they're all staggered where it's like, okay, Bitcoin's moved up faster, it's retracing, and now it's starting to move into, you know, alternate coins like Ethereum and Solana, where, okay, Ethereum's had its move up, now we're having this move down, and then maybe Solana starts to have that pump up where we do maybe see $220. Again, that's not financial advice in the slightest, that's theory crafting, but you know what I mean. But as I see it right now, I think on the longer term, I think we're continuing. On the daily, we haven't had any evidence that we're going to have a big retracement. But again, everything's relative. If we do have a negative candle and we start to retrace, I definitely could see us come into an area like, you know, let's say it's about, you know, sitting about 170. But I'm not saying that ends us. You know, it ends us on the high time frame like the daily when we get towards 157. And even then, we have the rest of this gap to potentially look at. We could potentially have a bit of support down here. We have all these things to look at. So, you know, it's not, I don't think it's over for Solana. I'm not saying it is over, but I'm saying is in like, even if we had a retracement. But what I want to aim for would definitely be looking at, you know, this previous high 187 to maybe coming even to 190, even to this gap. So I definitely think Solana's not over in its uptrend. Same how I think Ethereum's not fully over in its uptrend. I think definitely we've already seen Bitcoin's definitely, you know, not hitting that period where we're, you know, Bitcoin's already coming down. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. Apart from that, I think that is it for the stream. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've given my. Oh no, I haven't gone to 50 minutes Solana. I'll have a quick glance at 15 minute. Although I would expect we see the same thing. Same thing here. We had this print at the midpoint pretty good. You know, again, obviously support there. We have these equal highs which we took. I mean, we're kind of in a bit of an. Because we had this pretty extreme down, you know, we had this pretty extreme downtrend. We kind of had a print here. We didn't come past this high, so we weren't technically in an uptrend there. Obviously came past this low downtrend. We haven't come past these highs yet, so technically we're still in this downtrend. But we've already found support. We've already retraced into this gap. If we look here, we've already retraced into this. Obviously filled this pretty much to the T, and we're already starting to come up. So I do definitely think Solana could be starting its move up or starting in a move up. And if we pay attention to this as well, I'm not saying this is a bull flag, but not bull flag, head and shoulders, but it's the same thing where, okay, consolidation. I mean, it's the same thing. I think head and shoulders can apply to a lot of things. I've said this before as well. It's like, I think there's a lot of like bollocks chart patterns. Family friendly, I know, I apologize. There's a lot of crappy chart patterns, but I think it's one which I could potentially take away. And I'm not saying, like, you know, I wouldn't want to use head and shoulders and just, oh yeah, because you have to pay attention to what the market's, you know, doing. You can't just slap some can't just slap a pattern on a chart and it'll fully explain what the market's doing. But I think there's only very, very, very few patterns where it actually kind of takes into account, or slightly takes into account, or the only reason it slightly works is because it takes into account inherently the market situation. Like certain things, it's not really like you have a bull flag, but the market's going down. Like it's this. There's a lot of scenarios where the market's in a intermediary downtrend before it continues to dump even further. So it's like it doesn't necessarily explain, or it doesn't necessarily take into account inherently the market's situation, what the market's actually doing. But I think head and shoulders it's more of a reversal. It's like it could inherently slightly take into account if you've been in it takes into account you've been in an uptrend, and it takes into account you want to reverse from there. So I think for the only very few select chart patterns, I think the Head and Shoulders realistically kind of takes into account the market situation. So in this case, obviously, if we really look back, we had that potential consolidation, especially as I was talking about, we had that move up. But in this case, you know, we had this kind of move, and then we had this move here where we kind of formed this area here. It's rough. If you were to really look at it from this move to this move, it's like, okay, this is, you know, I think it realistically, if you were to look at it, it was this, you know, this whole kind of move here. You know, it was this area especially. I don't think you can push it all the way past here. It was definitely kind of this move. You can see we had all these equal highs, these relative equal lows, and then we had this massive move down, and then this massive move up again. And I think if from that move, again, we've obviously have formed this this order block, which is support. Obviously, you can see we've come to the midpoint of it. Obviously, we had this gap here, which we've filled. I definitely think we're starting to potentially move up. So if you were to apply Head and Shoulders, it's like, okay, we've had this move. And then the idea is in a Head and Shoulders and this reversal is, in terms of a market explanatory way, is you have this move, and then you want to look for the retracement. In this case, you have that obviously with this these kind of big candles, and then you retrace back into them. Or in this case, on the higher time frame, we've formed support with this move, and then we found the support in the midpoint, for example. Obviously, form support here, and then we move up as well. So it's one that, you know, I definitely think it kind of is a Head and Shoulders in a sense that, you know, it is technically the pattern, but it makes sense. Like, you can, I think for a chart pattern which has an explanation to it, I think a Head and Shoulders, you could argue, has a way of explaining it in whatever way you use. So kind of, that's my opinion. But you know, again, on the 15-minute, I think it realistically only just kind of confirms, you know, I think we could start to be in an uptrend per se, because of this massive move, which kind of broke this whole consolidation, massive move, and then we've had this move up support. I think we start to come upwards now, and come on. And if you even look at it, it's like we have this print past this high, or if you go candle bodies, whatever, we have this change in state where we've had this mini move down, and then we kind of did a higher low, and now we've come up again, and we've printed past this. And now we're starting to hover a bit and whatever. We're kind of coming up now. So I do think we could start a bit of a move up for Solana and whatnot. But we do have a bit of an aggressive gap here. Massive candle, nothing there. And if you pay attention to it as well, from this whole move high to low, this, you know, if we pay attention to this being the high and the low, this is also in kind of optimum area. If we could fill this to 180, we could see resistance there. So I know I'm saying on the higher time frame, yeah, we could see us come past this high, but again, there is potential. I mean, it's on the 15-minute, to be fair. You know, it's not on the 1 hour, but you know, there's potential resistance there, which we could, you know, want to pay attention to. So there is that. But realistically, it's like if we're in an uptrend, you want to kind of draw these to these. That's not what I wanted to do. You know, draw backwards and then look at it on this scale. But again, actually, no, it's not really like that. But whatever. We're in an uptrend. Let's just pretend that. Let's just put it back. Whatever. Just put it back. So yeah, that's my opinion. I'm gonna end the stream now. I think I'm gonna end the stream. Okay. I'm 30 minutes over. I didn't get a chance to look at any of the other ones as I expected. I didn't, because you know I never do. I just talk too much and I never have a chance. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's my opinion. Obviously, you know, the rest of you guys here, you know this already. I'm not going to reiterate it, but I think across the board, I mean, Ethereum, obviously, you know how I'm feeling about that. But I think I could try. I think I could kind of make sense of the scenario and where we could potentially go to. I think Solana, it makes sense of what we're doing. I think Bitcoin, for me, the main one. I think I like what's going on and how it's going. I think Bitcoin I do like a lot. With how it's moving, it's been moving the past two streams. Obviously, Tuesday, Thursday, I've looked at it, and what I've said in those resulting streams has been pretty much correct. You know, so far. Obviously, Syrup's been correct, which was nice. Syrup was nice to look at. It was a very, you know, clean cut. Again, the short was kind of on like the 15-minute, 1 hour, so it was something I could relatively look at in the coming days from Wednesday. Obviously, it's Saturday now, so in the few days after Wednesday, and I could actually look at it on the charts. And it's something. It's not like I'm looking at it on the weekly and I have to look at it in 12 weeks so we can see what's going on. So I'm pretty happy so far. Let's see how it goes. I will be back. I'll be back on Monday, actually. Obviously, my main thing is on Tuesday. My main, obviously, chart streams. But I'm taking over the Monday stream for Mike because he has some stuff to do, which is he has quite a few things, like technical things to do. So he doesn't have enough time. He has to do it kind of in that. Yeah, the only chance he has to do it is in that day, so he doesn't actually have chance to do the stream. So I'm taking over, and from what I hear, it's a very technical. Well, not from what I hear per se, but from what I know, it's a technical stream. But in terms of it will obviously DXY and whatnot and dominance. So what I will try and follow suit with that. So you will probably see me on Monday morning doing the Monday stream. And yeah, I'll try to keep it as close to what he normally does anyway. I'm not going to do what I do tonight on Monday because that would just be mean to everybody. Because if you want to actually watch the charts, then you watch the stream. But if you don't want to watch the charts, you don't watch the stream. Simple as. So I'm not going to bring the charts and force people who follow Mike's stream. I mean, I suppose it is time of day as well. But if they don't want to look at the charts like this, they don't have to. So I'm going to keep it a bit more. I'm not going to spend 1 hour on Bitcoin basically. But I will obviously look at. I'll do my own thing in a way where like I will give my spin on it. But obviously I'm going to try and keep to the theme of Monday. So you'll probably see me Monday morning if you do watch the streams on Monday. With Mike and watch the morning streams anyway, you'll see me on Monday, and you'll see me Tuesday afternoon, and then obviously I think we're doing something on Wednesday. I think we might be doing wall swap, I think, and then obviously that's when we get a chance to actually look at the global leaderboard. We don't know. I used the data from last stream just to get it going, but we have average time taken per question. We have total time taken. We have correct answers, percentage correct, total answers. We have a few data points as well. So and we can filter it by name and by who has the most. I said this last stream. We could filter it by who has the most in a certain category, and who has the most in both categories as well. So we have that to look at as well, which is nice. So I mean, I said this last stream. It'd be nice if we had like an end of month or end of whatever, where we kind of went through the global leaderboard and commemorated people who had the least time took, average, the most correct answers, and all that sort of stuff. It'd be cool to have that, but hopefully we'll get to showcase that on Wednesday. It'd be nice to have a look at that, so that'd be good. And then obviously I'll be back on Thursday and Saturday, so depending on what time of day, you'll see me every day apart from Friday, pretty much, because obviously I'll be back Saturday. So yeah, I'll be back next week with all that stuff. Obviously Sunday, we don't do that. But yeah, and other than that, I think I'll be in Telegram. What I'll try to do, because again, the gap between Monday or Saturday and Tuesday is a bit longer, so there's more chance of this. So for example, obviously between Wednesday and today, I mean, to be fair, the gap is pretty small than Wednesday today, but for things like syrup, where it's on the 1 hour and it takes some time to move, it doesn't happen in the next day necessarily. It could happen. So if something does happen in the period, which is slightly longer than, for example, today from Thursday, then I'll try post it in Telegram and talk about it. But if not, I'll just see you guys on Monday. And obviously I'll be in Telegram anyway if someone says anything and whatnot. And yeah, I will be there. I'll be back on Monday as well in the morning, back on Tuesday, back on Wednesday, back on Thursday, back on Saturday. So you'll see me at some point. Appreciate you all for being here. Thank you for spending an hour and 19 minutes of your time watching and being part of the stream. Appreciate you all. Kishan, KB, I'm pretty sure you're probably here. Hidden Agendas, and so I've got some people who I don't normally see as regulars. Jones Becker, shout out to you for being here. The Rob Side, So Sky, obviously Hidden Agendas already said, so thank you. I mean, I'm looking at the everyone's kind of fallen off already. They watch Bitcoin, they leave. That's fine, and they don't talk. That's fine. But obviously it's fallen off a bit. So some of these people probably aren't here, but I thank them anyway. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys Monday, and that's it. So appreciate you all. Have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good Sunday, basically, because some of you guys it's like midnight, 9 o'clock. So have a good rest of your. Still here. Yeah. I think I would understand people leaving, because I think I should try a stream where maybe I do everything really, really in depth off stream, and then like obfuscate it and make it a bit more simple, and then make it really digestible. I could try that. Maybe more people might stay, because I can understand maybe it gets a bit much if I'm doing it live, especially. But whatever. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. See you on Monday. See you in Telegram. Have a good rest of your weekend. Goodbye.